Welcome to Politics Plus with Nkosi Zulu. On this episode, this day, we have invited none other than our PR councillor or councillor of eThekwini Municipality, Mr. Pastor Selvan Govender. This is the platform where news meets passion and insights. So we are going to give him a chance to introduce himself and then perhaps give us a little brief about his motivators, his upbringing and stuff. So Mr. Selvan, I hope I introduced you right. How are you doing today?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Can you just introduce yourself to our viewers, perhaps, and give us your accolades, your capacity?
Okay, I think it's a long list, but I'm going to try to make it a bit short. But I think there's three things that I've been passionate about in most of my life, and it goes with like a triple P. So I'm a pastor, a politician, and a philanthropist. So I'm a president of an NPO called The Time Is Now, which has been running for about 20 years. And I'm in politics with the IFP. I'm a city councillor in the Chatsworth, eThekwini area. And I pastor alongside another pastor in Chatsworth, and I run a few churches as well, oversee them. So those are the basic, passions that I have and my commitments. And I think even getting into politics, it stemmed from being on the ground through the NPO, reaching out to people, looking at the needs and the wants in the communities, the lack of service delivery, and, basically the cry of the people.
So for the purpose of this show, how am I going to be addressing you in terms of the capacity as a pastor or councillor?
Selvan is fine.
Okay. No, it's fine. With us, the background, it doesn't allow us to basically just...
Councillor is fine.
Councillor. No, it's fine because it's a political show. We are going to be addressing you by councillor. So you are Selvan Governed.
That's correct.
Because apparently we become a little bit juggled up when we look for guest, because there's another gentleman by the name of Selvan Governed, and he's also a councillor for the IFP.
No.
What does he do?
The other councillor for the IFP is Jonathan Anyapan. But there was a Selvan Governor when you and I had a show together. There was a third person who was also a Selvan Governor, but from Phoenix.
Oh, okay, he's from Phoenix. Yeah. But he is
but not
Selvan
in
Governor.
Politics.
He's not in politics. But what was he doing?
I think he was a civic representative.
Oh, okay. No, it's okay, Councillor. Now, let us look into the background, your political upbringing, and what basically motivated you to basically even partake in politics, more especially going to the IFP route. If somebody recruited you, or was it through some observances?
Yeah, I think, I never really had an interest in politics, although I had a historical background and I was keen on politics, but I didn't think I would get involved in it because my passion was to serve people, but through the other platforms in, social caring. And I did that for a long part in my life when I recognized that there's such a void in our areas, and the people that are there placed in political positions don't really come to the aid of people. And then as my journey continued, I took a lot to the IFP because of the founder. The prince then was alive, and if you look at his history, well, we don't have enough time to talk about His Excellency. But I think, in all of South African politics, it's very difficult to find any other figure that stands out like that, with that type of integrity and excellency. And so I was keen on it. And then there was a by-election in the year 2018 in Chatsworth in Ward 71. And that's when I got involved, not as a candidate, but I got involved as a support structure. And I took to it from there.
Oh, okay. So you from Ward 71?
Yes.
I draw close relationships with a few of your counterparts that side, more especially the DA, because it's been dominated by the DA. Obviously, there is, after the minority front, of which we just also have to just give a little bit of a scoop from there. But how is the collaboration with regards to the other councillors in your area? Because I often observe and read through, the publications as well as social media that, you guys are on close with each other.
I think, we do what we need to do as public servants, especially as political reps. We don't really clash with the DA or other parties. Me especially, the party has given us a mandate. But I think in my work area in Chatsworth and surrounding like Merebank, 168 as well, every political party has reps in those areas. But none of them have an issue with me, and I don't have an personal issue with them. We can always come together and work, although some of them are reluctant. But for me, it's always been that the people must benefit. And, if we fight and they would miss out on any opportunity, I don't believe in that. Sometimes we have to separate politics from looking at what our social call is and taking care of the needs of the people. Then there's also the, understanding that we have between the DA and the IFP. I know we'll come to that later on. So it sometimes brings us to a place where we cannot really attack them for what they do. They can't really attack us. But nevertheless, the attacks continue.
It's always politics.
It's always politics.
No, that's okay, because we were just going to get into that, more especially with recent manifestations of politics, with this GPU and the JNUs. But we can't jump right into it because we've got to create a background. And I want to find out if we understand the background clearly together, because leading up to the national general elections, we understand that IFP, more especially IFP and the DA, had this multi-party charter.
Yes.
Yeah, and they called it moonshot, moonpack. I don't know, but you
Moonshot
correct me.
pack,
Yeah, moonshot pack. Yeah, and it was so loud that they were going to unseat the African National Congress. But today, you are sitting here, Councillor, and you are led. Okay, you're basically leading because you are from the IFP. You are leading in a GPU government with the ANC. What then changed?
I think if you look at the dynamics, not much has changed, because remember, the idea was for us to unseat the ANC. And that's why the Moonshot Pact was created. But I think, the developments that took place there just prior to the election shifted the entire dynamic with the other party coming in. I don't know if I could mention them for scope of them, like the MK. I think that brought a different, play to what was transpiring. So if you look at KwaZulu-Natal, the IFP runs KwaZulu-Natal, but it was a combination of the IFP, the DA and the ANC that had come together to form this GPU and the GNU, overall. It's because the MK party came in and they refused to work with anyone else. It could have been different in KZN. It could have been just the IFP or the MK. And I think during the time of negotiations, things didn't fall through the way other people expected it. But our relationship with the DA still maintained. And the ANC thereafter took that decision that they couldn't work with the MK because the MK was a split from them. And so that's when they came to the party in these negotiations, which is not really at my level, But yeah, from our understanding, that is what transpired.
No, it's fine because we're discussing things at our level of understanding.
Okay.
At least we if ever we do need somebody to come and make clarifications, you are from the IFP, we can always go through you and you can make such reference, which is good. But again, I must make emphasis that when you wanted to unseat the ANC, it was a very thorough call to say, we want nothing to do with the ANC. Why then did you allow them to form parts of the government? Because you could have made them yourselves, the IFP, and the other parties, you could have made 50+1.
Could not. Without the ANC and the MK, it was impossible to reach 51.
So you still needed the ANC?
Well, it was either the MK or the ANC that could become majority. And, sometimes it's better what you know than what, I can't say those words,
Yeah,
but it's better who you know than what you don't know. So
but then those guys, sorry, you can carry on.
Yeah, and I think at the higher level of, politics, the negotiations took place and they eventually came to an understanding that benefited quite a few parties. And I think overall, the citizens of this country and this province, if you look at, from the time the GNU is in place, some may say not much has happened. But remember that we are trying to fix something that was broken for a long time. And a lot of, damages has been done prior to this. So if we put you in a new position today, in 3 months, you can't really turn it around. So it would take a bit longer, but definitely we see the results and, of it being successful.
Is that how much you fear the MKP? Let's not call them MK. Let's call them MKP, because there was a lady sitting here last week or the other week that established the differences between MK and MKP. We only learned. So my question is that how much IFP fears MKP?
No, I don't think we ever fear them because we give them a good run for their money. If you look at all the by-elections that has been taken place, even after the national election, we've beat them at every election, by-election. So we're not afraid of them. But I think holistically, and when the other parties came together in terms of the numbers, we chose to work with other parties instead of them because they didn't come to the table for proper negotiations, according to my understanding.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't really come to the table for negotiations. They delayed that process. And likewise, that's what happened at national level. They were not meant to be out of this arrangement. They just didn't want to be part of it. So when you were looking at the coalition of the MK and the EFF, it looked like it was,
imminent.
Yeah, and then and from the background of the EFF, we would know what to expect if that is a proper coalition. So I think we've never been afraid of them. We're not afraid of them now. We take them on at by-elections and they lose miserably, most of them. I think at that time, people were very hyped up in terms of the change. The attack was not on our party, neither was it on the DA. The attack was on the ANC that came from the MK. If you look at the numbers, you look at statistics from previous elections, we haven't really lost much numbers compared to what the ANC has lost in terms of seats and numbers at the polls. The IFP has been growing and we've never looked back.
No, we understand, but then the feel, or actually even the guests that have been previously invited here that sat there on that seat, we've always asked them questions about, the dynamics. I want to focus more especially on the KZN dynamics of, this provincial government. When they are posed with a question as to, do you really feel comfortable sitting in a seat where the majority of voters voted for basically another party? Because we understand MKP overwhelmingly won this province, even though it was not a complete win, but it was a very, substantive amount of electorate. And there's always this thing that is often said by the uninformed people at times that MKP at any time might just pull the capper and capsize the provincial government and resume its rightful place.
I think, if I can give you maybe a biblical reference, the Bible is clear. It says, the law of the land prevails. And I think the law of politics in South Africa is the majority rules. And then in South African politics, we have coalitions and we have floor crossings and we have lots of things that makes up part of the law here in this country. So when you look at the number of votes that the MK got versus the other parties, I think a combination of the other parties still give them a majority compared to the MK, although they have a good number. But I don't think it's a very sustainable number because when you look, like I said, and I refer to the by-elections after the national election, a lot of people were hyped up in trying to unseat the ANC from the MK's perspective. And it hasn't really affected us much because we've retained a lot of our wards, and at the by-elections we've won quite a few now. We're taken away from the ANC as well, where if you go back to national voter day, and if you was a person of stats, you would think MK would now win that ward. But neither of them won it. The IFP has been winning those wards in by-elections.
But do you think the justice has been done to a normal person whom understands that I voted for this party and this party, according to polls, is sitting on position number 1. Thereafter, I have voted. Then there is this thing called negotiations of coalition and government of national unity, which is fairly new, more especially to the middle age person, because the only time we're learning about that there's ever such that existed was back in 1996, which even then the terms were undefined. Now, do you think it's justifiable to a voter that you vote, you view numbers, you view positions, and suddenly there are these?
I think maybe it doesn't seem fair, but realistically, majority rules. And this party didn't get 51%. So if they didn't get 51%, that means they're not the majority. They may have, even if they got 49.5%, they didn't get 51, which means they're not the majority. It may look like they have the most, but they're still not the majority. Majority is 51. If they had won outright at 51%, and then it was taken away from them, then it will be unfair. But right now, I think 51, speaks of democracy, and we live in a democratic country.
Okay. In developing this, do you personally feel that the existence or the formation of MK benefited the IFP?
I don't think they benefited us much. I think if they didn't pop up, we would still give the ANC a run for the money in KZN. And the stats we're looking at that. Let's take you back. Let's take you back to all the rallies at Moses Mabhida.
Yeah.
The stats say that IFP has brought in the most people during those rallies, in maybe 150,000 at one stage, compared to the MK or the ANC or any other party. Stats are stats.
You're talking about recorded stats.
Stats are stats.
Or by views of what we observe. Because, I mean, there has been argued quite substantively, because, people say the very same people that were at Moses Mabhida Stadium when the EFF hosted their manifesto rally, are the very same people that were there. Now, almost the very same people that were there when the ANC hosted. And even the very same people when I just want to make you a physical example. There's that one girl that was actually even adopted by Action SA. They called her Noma Rally. She basically made, the living example of what people were basically alluding to.
I think you'll always get a group of people that will attend any rally and put on any shirt, mainly because of the entertainment, the type of performers that you'll get there, stars that will attend, the music, the food, the entertainment and everything that comes with it. Some people, they don't really focus on politics. They'll just throw on a T-shirt, excuse me, and they'll benefit what's there to be benefited from. And yes, that plays a key role, because sometimes you can't truly identify the number as per the party. But I think, when you look at footage and you look at videos and you look at pictures and you look at the stadium itself on the days of the rallies, I tell you, I don't think anyone could come close to the IFP then. Well, I'm not being biased, but from all the evidence that I've seen, from the beachfront to Umgeni Road, it was white. Generally.
And it was yellow when the ANC hosted.
Not
and
as
it
much.
was also red when the EFF was...
not as much.
No, it's okay. Look, we perhaps will have to revisit this, this party politics. But I just want, of course, you are a man on the ground. Focus on the real current issues, more especially of the socio-economic importance. Actually, even on this show, I want you to trust us that we present.
You're giving me my slogan now.
Yeah, trust us. Yes, exactly. Well, look, I want you to trust us and believe in us. That we don't present our perspective, but we probe. Even if it comes to the racial lines and discussions of such. So this topic that I'm going to ask you about deals with the foreign spaza shops. Here, because you are the man on the ground, more especially in Chatsworth. And Chatsworth is a very large area, even leading to the other side. What is your personal stance towards what's happening with regards to these foreign spaza shops? I want to ask artifacts or attributes such as do you think it's validated that we commercializing them in a form of, legitimizing, even though we are unsure of the immigration, logistics and concerns with regards to the owners?
I think it's very, very important that we have people in positions where they are selling merchandise and food and sweets and chocolates to our kids, that they have a formalization. Also, what is very important, that the foreigners are legal. I think it was a clear stance by the IFP and the Premier, which, by the way, I'm going to try for you to get him to this show for you.
We will be glad.
I have not influence, but rather I can speak to him to get you, which I think he would be perfect to answer a lot of questions that you may have. But in terms of this, it's been a strong stance by the IFP and especially the Premier, Mr. Ntuli, when it comes to the spaza shops. So an application process has started and thousands of tax shops have applied. It's based on the validation of their application, also about legitimacy, about them being legitimate in terms of where they come from, like the foreigners. And now you just spoke about racial divide. The issues we've been having for a long time when it comes to foreigners in our land versus the people of this land. So I think that's always going to be an issue. But it's like us. If we go and look for a job in America or in China or in the UK, if we're legal, we're legal. So I think to avoid issues, you have to be legal to own a tuck shop or to run a business here in South Africa, which I think is fair. And I think the department's working tirelessly now to ensure all these tuck shops are registered because of, unfortunately, that to come to a place where we had to lose some of our kids in order to, for us to see the light, that we need to have these things in order because quite a few kids died eating food from spaza shops. So the IFP has not taken that lightly. I don't know if you can recollect, maybe about 2 months ago outside City Hall, we had a massive protest and rally there about the foreigners and tuck shops and spaza shops. So we have a strong stance on that.
So what was the march about? I'm probed to ask this question from here because I wanted to go a bit back, but I'll ask it from here. What was the march about anyway, the protest? What was it about? Was it about you promoting or championing the legitimization of the tuck shops, or saying the foreigners must be those of legal, processes, or were you just saying foreigners must just up and leave?
So there were many points that we were screaming out. Unfortunately, I don't have pictures to show you now. But I think one was that we didn't want illegal foreigners, number one. No illegal foreigners to have any type of businesses here, one. Okay. Two was to ensure that locals are given priority. Three was to ensure that all the food that comes to these spaza shops, they run via the health department. So there are many things that we called for during that protest.
Thank you, because now again I'll have to keep referring to the prior insights that we receive as this show. There is one of our guests that actually sat on that seat again, and then she informed us that she's aware and she has evidence that there is a particular Indian family from KZN that is basically infiltrating this whole, local economy in the form of spaza shop by bringing all the Somalis, the Ethiopians and the Pakistanis to come and take over. And even worse, this very same family is trading in arms. And that is why, and we have observed even on social media or everywhere else, that these Pakistanis, they're very armed. Nothing about it. Have you not observed this?
Well, I've seen snippets and I've seen posts regarding that. I think it's unfounded right now. There's not too much of evidence, in that direction as much as what we read. So it's like this. And we first clashed at the CPF, right? When we first met.
Definitely.
So it's like this. In my area in Chatsworth, let's say, call it Crossmore or Morton. in a month, there may be 100 house breakings or 50 car hijackings, but only 10 gets reported. So as much as people may say what's going on, they need to come forward to the authorities, log their complaints, and thereafter we have evidence to make cases around it and then look at what's going on. A lot of things are hearsay. That's what I'm saying. A lot is unfounded. When you bring through the evidence, then we can work through it. There are people in position to do these type of investigations.
It defeats the normal person. You know, this thing of evidence, bringing evidence and having to reports like formally, because once things are formalized, sort of like you've got to follow up with the processes, and even with the criminal law itself, with the civil, litigation. It's not for a poor man. A poor man is only worried about, not a poor man, it's actually even a general man like myself. I'm only worried about where I'm getting bread for the next day. Now, if I have to attend repeatedly, the processes whereby I'll have to, because even in South Africa, you're quite aware, sitting here in front of me, that we don't get that proper service given to us as normal public. So if you're going to the police station and you have to wait for like 10 or 15 people before your reports and your stolen television, do you think it's going to be applicable to a normal person like me that's worried about getting food for the following day?
I think sometimes it is difficult, but when you look at the seriousness of the allegations, I think there are specialized departments that can deal with it. And as you're saying, you're not an ordinary man, but as you're saying that, you do understand protocol. So there has to be a paper trail. There has to be processes. So people can't just talk about it. You talk about it and there's no action, and then you say that there's no action in terms of the law. What do they have to work with when you report it to officials and authorities? They have to have reports. They have to have dockets. They have to have documentation to work with it. It's easy to say that this and that has happened, but what do you do from there?
Earlier on today, I watched there was a community participation. You just reminded me that we had some loggerheads at the CPF this one year. But there was this community participation, and one active lady stood up and said, if you go to a police station and you report crime, they will tell you that there is no, the transportation for the police to go to the crime scene. But then if there is ever perhaps alcohol to be confiscated
or domestic
problem, there will be like 3, 6 or 7 vans that are actually attending to such.
It's funny you raised this, because just last night I was having a conversation with a family that we went to visit and pray with, and they said the same thing. But you must take into consideration a place like Chatsworth. So we have to target departments. If you go to Chatsworth police station, Chatsworth is huge. From Unit 5 all the way to Savannah Park and Shallcross, it's huge. On an average day, we only have 2 patrol vehicles. That means 2 vehicles. You have a few specialized units who have their own vehicles. But let's say you have 1 murder in Welbedat and you have 1 attempted murder in Savannah Park. For a murder case, a vehicle will be parked off at least 3 to 4 hours on one site. Can't move for evidence reasons and whatever. And then you have an issue, let's say in Crossmore. And somebody, they need the police urgently. That's when you call 10111, you'll find Metro attending it, and you'll ask, where's SAPS? They don't do their job. It's resources. It all boils down to that. And I think our focus has shifted a lot. It's easy for people to complain, and I'm not batting for them, because you know how we go at them. So definitely. I think at department level, we must focus on that. Right to the Minister of Police has to look at the ratio and the number of people we have in Chatsworth. We will say 700,000 now, maybe more with the other extended areas. What would be the average or the ratio of the number of patrol vehicles that you need to have per day or night? 2 or 3 will never touch that area,
Is Ruth still there? Ruth develops. Is she still there?
She's still
okay. No, it's fine. Now, because we've touched on SAPS, it's another trending matter or current affair. And I also want to understand your view, or perhaps if there's any from your party, because I understand that the general, the commissioner, Babu Mkwanaz, is a member of IFP.
All I can say is a very good guy.
Is he a member of IFP?
I can't confirm that.
Okay, it's okay. Now, what is sitting at his table currently he's being, okay, I don't even know how to ask this question because it's we haven't had a solid understanding as to what is happening with regards to his case. But then, because some people are saying he's being victimized for the political, that is exposing the political connections and, manifestations that is exposing. And but some are saying there obviously is something that is smelling. There is a dead rat there. So what is happening around that guy now?
I think I'm not in a position to really comment about that. I don't know all of the facts surrounding it. But I think if you as an analyst, right, and what you do on the show, and people out there, the general public, or people who take a little bit interest in stuff like this, if you look at the time from his appointment right up to now, look at the impact he's had, just look around and see what has happened with him coming on. People started to fear that there's finally law around. They've been successful in many, many operations. So I don't know the facts of his situation and his case. I can't comment on that, unfortunately. But I think in my observation of him, he's been a pretty tough worker. And that's what matters for me. When you look at cases, let's take our previous, for example, the previous Minister of Police had how many cases against him and how many complaints and issues. Did anything come to pass? Even if they were evidence right in front of you. We have people in politics that's highly questionable right now with backgrounds and stuff. So I'm not saying, and I'm not making a case for him if he has done anything wrong. We believe in the law, and if you break the law, you must be punished.
Because you just made a reference to the former police minister. I think you are referring to Mr. Cele.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are saying there is quite an amount
many allegations,
allegations, and some evidential.
Yeah,
so it takes me back to that question now to say, why will the normal person like me worry about submitting evidence and reporting such if there is an evidence and a trail of allegations, or that validates those trails of allegations against the Minister of Police, and nothing is done about it? Then you expect me, a man that is unresourced, so basically,
No, I hear you, but I think also you must take into consideration belief and faith. In circuits, right? There's always some good person somewhere along the line, maybe in a quiet corner, but there's someone there to help you sometime. And when we look at the higher level and the rankings of officials that have allegations against them, obviously they are people of influence and power, and so that's why they get away with a lot. Let's take, for example, the party that we've been trying to talk about for so long now, that's infiltrated KZN. Talk about the so-called leader. He shouldn't even be outside, leave alone have a party.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Let's get to that.
We'll basically get to that, because then you must tell us some new information, because that guy has got cases that are always thrown off course, and they are, repeatedly.
Yeah, I just have to tell you about his shower, and I think you close the subject.
No, it's okay. Let's go to first. Let's finish off with General Nhlanhla.
Okay.
Yeah, because I see you alluded to the fact that he's doing great work.
Yes.
And a lot of people are basically saying the same. They are proclaiming the same. But ever since, because it's not his first term of office, he was acting before. And even then, there were allegations. I think it was around about 2015. There were allegations of, his mischievous, whatever. I won't also make up a case for him, because I want to be, immune from all such. But one that we, as reporters or perhaps as analysts, look into is the fact the facts that throughout all his operations, he has introduced this NIU, which obviously has been there before, but it was not that popular. But the work of this NIU, which is proclaimed to be, the excellent work by some people or some majority of the people in society, my question is, or my observations are, yes, he is running operations, but only on a particular race of people, or perhaps on particular areas in society. And the reason I'm saying this is I've never, even on social media or anywhere or in any reports, I've never heard of him or his NIU going to Chatsworth, where me and you evidently know that there is higher rates of crime and even white-collar crime that is taking place in Chatsworth. But we've never heard his NIU operating there. But anytime in KwaMashu or Inanda or Emlas, his NIU is first to be there. And even in Umhlanga, there is high rates of corruption. I'm talking about white-collar crime. Because all the corruption and what you call this nonsense that is happening, if I can say it, in the townships, arises from the so-called capitalists, because that is their way of basically rotating or even washing their money. I don't want to be held accountable to say, hey, I must go and point out a house or a particular person, but then we are aware generally of such. How come is it then that his operations, we've never seen any white man that has been shot by the NIU, or actually even an Indian man or a Chinese man?
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to answer that question. I'm not in his, corner for those reasons. If you ask me about the IFP, I can talk about it. But I would say from an observer point of view, you do have a point, makes some sense with what surrounds us, but only they can answer that. Maybe they have intelligence about why things are done where and why they need to target certain areas. I don't know. We'll just assume here. But maybe someone from their department can give you insight on that. But as you're saying, on a form of observation, I think it does make sense when you look at it holistically and you look at, what we're surrounded by in every part of this land, not just the townships. Because Chatsworth is a township as well. So it makes sense. It does make sense.
Would you then say it changes your view of this proclaimed excellent work that is performing? Because, sir, I want to emphasize this because it's probing. Because from where you are sitting, you come from a particular type of community that is affected by crime, but crime has no race. But because we are viewing it, you're viewing these operations from a distance point of view. You are viewing this man as, I'm basically only asking, I'm not making a statement. You are viewing this man as a very good man that is fighting crime because he's doing this and this and this. But because he hasn't been on your yard to see the injustices that you are, or the crime that you are committing in your yard or in your friend's yard, perhaps then when he visits your neighborhood and the same manifestations takes place, you might then adopt a different approach of being now a human rights activist that says, no, there's a problem here. Do you not, is your view not shifted?
I don't think my view is totally shifted. It maybe allowed me insight to look at things from a different angle or perspective. But my view hasn't shifted. I think maybe that, like I was talking earlier about the stats and reporting of crime, I think that plays a huge role. And sometimes maybe if we get someone from that department, they can prove to us that there's insufficient complaints or complaints logged, in order for them to come to those areas. I think the highlight and the focus has a lot has been what they see generally on TV, on the news, in terms of the CIT, the cash in transit robberies, things like that. The major action normally takes place in the township like that. But then obviously I don't write off the Umhlanga area, I don't write off Palito or anywhere else, because crime is everywhere. It has no race, like you said. So maybe, we can only speak from a position of observation. And I think my perspective has not shifted, but I think maybe you've enlightened me on a few things.
Thank you. Now it leads back to what you were leading to. It's not basically back, we're progressing to this man that infiltrated political landscape in South Africa and in KZN. You wanted to talk about him. Let's give him time. In the same view, here is this man The last time I read, I think it was on Mercury or Mail and Guardian, he had like 779 cases against him. And he was 79 at that time. So this guy has got so many cases against him, either by the SIU, the Hawks, the SAPS, whoever the investigators, the Office of the Public Protector. Now, again, my assertion, which leads to a question, because you presented this view, is if for real,
I've given you an opportunity.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. Yeah, if for real these are validated cases or processes, the 790 something odd institutions or people that has actually lodged these, who are they, and what motives do they have? Because we cannot be then excited as the public and say, no, this man is guilty, because I think you were alluding to the very same thing. You were saying, you said yourself that he shouldn't even be walking outside. That means you convicted this man. But what are the motives? Is this really the crime that he committed, or there are exterior motives in this?
So I think without my personal opinion, I was making reference to that earlier because of his last case when he was released from prison. That was a conviction because he was in prison. I think I was making reference to that. And obviously his health had a lot of influence on him being outside now, more or less. But let's not get into... But let's ask this question for the average viewer. Common sense. What is common sense? Common sense is that I can have 1, 2, or 3 cases against you. They can all be allegations. 700 and some odd. And then what about the alleged cases that went to trial? When you talk about all of these issues, even the alleged rape cases, are we saying alleged so we don't get into trouble?
Yeah.
And look at the comments that come out from having a shower so you can be free of diseases. What is that about? Allegations.
But the label still says not guilty.
Okay, let's take away all of that. Let's take away all of that. Here's a man who had the reins. What was achieved then? Look, you talk about I make reference to what you were saying about the spaza shop, about a wealthy Indian family with arms. Look at the wealthy Indian people that was associated with him and went down that road. We can name them like this, and you can see the fruit of it. Why was it like that? Where was he always? Where did he tread? If you go follow his circles, who will you find in his circles? Now, he has been the president of this country. I'm saying for maybe it's a case of like how women like men. Maybe they just like bad guys. Maybe people just like bad guys and think something good can come out of it.
Or perhaps maybe the society always like to protect the victims.
Well, that could be a case, but I think society normally supports the underdog. And even if the underdog is guilty, they would want to support the underdog.
That's true, because I mean, even myself personally, if I get to a place, because you are very religious. When this one story that we learned when I was doing a religious class back then says, Jesus came and people were throwing stones at this one woman that had...
The adulterous woman.
Yeah, exactly. And then he basically saved the woman in one way or some logical... vigilance or wisdom. I would adopt the very same approach if I were you, because then I would assume, how can a man have 700 and something odd cases against him? Would you not want to adopt his perspective or his understanding or comprehension side of things? The reason I'm asking this, Pastor Armin Councillor, is because the society, the majority of the public, if I'm saying the majority of the public, I'm talking about the people that are still following this guy or they still believe in him. They believe that he was their Messiah. And in that he was doing right. One of the things which I can answer, I can give you feedback on is, because you asked, what has he done or what has happened, is we have seen a lot of transformation. I will tell you about, because from my analysis, a lot of transformation under this current 9 years, whereby, let me first make a reference with the Indian family, whereby we have seen the Indian family occupying a lot of what you call transformation agents or transformation mechanisms, which were only solemnly occupied by the Western clique or the capitalist. That, to me, as a normal person, gives a tick. And then next, we have seen a lot of black excellence coming through. When we say black excellence, we are not saying so in form of phrase, but we are saying in the fact that we understand or we understood that he was integrating us to the rest of this economic clique so that we are able to co-govern and to co-participate in the economy. At least that is my observation. Now, 700 and something odd cases against such men, to me, unrealistic. I'm just saying through my analysis, unrealistic, because if, I'll give you a chance, if you are a transformer, and I want to validate this here by making reference to our last guest, because she said, if you come in as a transforming agent or catalyst of change in any organization, you are due to take those strokes. So this man has taken so many strokes because of the amount of transformation he has effected.
Yeah, strokes is a nice word.
Okay.
No, but I don't know. Do you really believe all that you're saying? Totally. Because let's look at this. If we have to do an exercise now, let's take our current president, who people, they speculate in allegation that he is associated to the white regime, right? Some people.
Sir, I'm very sorry. Let us discuss this here on the same levels.
Yeah.
Let there be equals, because we're talking about this other man with regards to 700 and something odd allegations.
Yeah.
So let us equate such to this other man, and we mention it because you've mentioned on this other man about how he claimed to take a shower to wash away a disease. Let us talk about the Pala Pala, the Marikana, and everything else. Let us discuss it on the equal
I don't want to go
terms.
to that man because he's going to take my time. I'm just making a reference.
All right, okay.
Where you see that a lot of people make these allegations, and you see them in the posts and stuff, saying that he's a face, of somewhat, and he has the backing of capitalists. Let's just say that. And then when you go back to look at your guy, this guy, then
it's not my guy.
Yeah, I would say this guy that we're talking about now. Let's go back and look at him. Let's go look at when he was there and the clique that he associated himself with. As much as you can say he brought in other people, maybe his clique was totally Indian, if we could say, but there were white people behind the scenes. There are a lot that's not uncovered. And let's look at all the corruption associated to that, like we can say to this guy, although my focus is not him. But because we're talking about this guy, I'm saying, sometimes you can see there's similarities. And again, like you had your other guest here, I think with anybody in a hot seat, there's always going to be a reference to them doing something wrong. There's always going to be allegations. But actual charges, I think even 717 or somewhat, you would, if you were a logical thinker, you would think at least 50 of them can stand. Yeah. Logic now. Out of 7, if you said there was only 7, I'll say maybe 1 can stand. Out of 700, I would think beside my law experience, I would think out of 700, I'm sure 7 can stand, 50 can stand. But I'm not making a case against him. I only made reference as to that because we were talking about the party. And then you talk about a representative. I think also what we must understand cultures. Like with the Indian community, it's very different compared to the African community or the black community, if whichever word is suitable. People don't like certain words. But I'm saying when you look at culture and following in terms of politics, when 1994 came to pass, there was a new trend in terms of voting and support. Like if you go to Chatsworth, I've done a million things in Chatsworth, but I can't rally 500 people right now in Chatsworth, for example, that can come from anywhere to come and support a cause. But if you were living in, let's say, in Kandla, for example, you can rally 5,000 people, and you may not have done half of what I've done because of the cultures and the way people follow politics. Now, from my political background and history here, like with the IFP, in the Indian community, it's very difficult to sign up a member, to take membership and to carry a card. and also make them pay for it. They would say, why, you need my vote, I don't need this, you need me. But you go to the black community, they, even if they don't have money, they want to pay for the membership because they know what the ownership of it means. They know what they belong to in terms of a culture. So I think the dynamics are different. Even when we do political planning in terms of logistics, it's difficult to get 500 Indians to come to a rally, but you can get 500,000 maybe. Black people, because the cultures are different and the way they follow people. So he has a following. It's like you take any other political leader, let's not say from which organization, and let them break away from one party. They already have 10,000 people going with them. Why? Let's look at the history. How much have they done? How much have they impacted? Maybe they just have a voice and they can speak and they're bold. But the cultures are very, very different. So I think in political support, we have to take those things into consideration. And that's why many people support that. But I also want to tell you something maybe a little bit funny. Let's go to Nkandla. You know, when you go to Nkandla and you see the politics there over the last period, you'll see that the IFP runs in Nkandla.
Yeah,
you'll
they've
see
always
the
been
councillors
dominant,
are.
yes.
But who lives there?
The very same men.
The bigger man who's you said has most of the votes in KwaZulu-Natal. In his hometown, his party can't get votes. Or even when he was with the ANC, they couldn't win it. So what does that say? There's a whole politics has different dimensions, you know.
I think that there is insignificant, perhaps to the men or to anybody else.
Not
But
really.
I want to find out now. Are you biased because you mentioned that the men took a shower to wash away a disease, but you are not.
I said an allegation.
Okay, right. But you don't want to mention in words or in specific. That okay, those allegations are accurate, but the men on the other side actually agreed on having dollars under his mattress.
Yeah, but you see, that man was not part of our topic. We made reference to this man.
You made reference to this man, then he became part of our topic. So I'll stick with him.
I was just bringing him out as a side piece to
Are you afraid of this man?
No, not at all.
No, I think you are.
I will play you a recording when this man came to Chatsworth Youth Center, and I asked him 3 questions. At that time, I wasn't a councillor. I was just an activist. I was with the IFP though. I was the area leader for the IFP.
Was he a president then?
He was the president. Okay. And I was an area leader for the IFP, but I was an activist. I was part of many organizations in Chatsworth. I asked him 3 questions. I asked him questions that related to the church circle. You know, at that time, they were bringing out this action against pastors where, you know, hate speech. Where we were forced to marry people of the same sex, which is not what we called to do. I asked him that question. Then he gave me some. I asked him direct questions. I'll play you the recording. So I'm not afraid. You know, I'm a vocal guy, but I'm saying I didn't want to make reference to him because he's a whole different can of something right now, and I didn't want to get into that.
Some people are lucky, or some men are lucky because they're not just spoken about that easily. It's okay, Councillor. I can see your traits. Perhaps, obviously, because you are under this GNU and
not
your party supports this
not
GNU,
necessarily.
You can't throw stones at you know, you can't basically bite that hand that feeds you. Okay, I understand that very well. But then, moving ahead again, perhaps so that I can give you a chance to tell us more about your upcoming programs. I understand and I observed that you take your inspiration or you draw your inspirations from the then Prince Nkosi Zulu. Councillor, mine is to sit here and probe you as a guest of your perceptions, more especially because you are bringing up these issues. When he passed on, just like Mama Winnie Mandela, when he passed on, you know, people will often have that focus or zoom in on character. We learned that he wasn't such a good man. He had a lot of spearheading up in his area, that side in northern KwaZulu-Natal. And what I'm saying is what's been reported. So I'm asking you about it because this is your role model. He was in the center of the feuds and everything else that took place there, more especially around the 1990s and 1991s. And there is the man you draw inspiration from. Do you want to dismiss that as allegations?
Yeah, well, they're allegations. I think, you know, for me as a role model in politics, I think he served as an excellent role model. I think that, you know, when I listened to him and I sat with him and had many conversations with him, I drew a lot from him. I understood the perspectives of what he fought for, the unity in diversity, the liberation, education before liberation. I understood his principles, and that's what I was drawn to. And in my understanding, he was totally peaceful. I don't know what transpired before me and my time. I was not always in politics. A lot of people come to me, even in the Indian community, and talk about the 1949 rights and all of that. But I think we've transitioned and we've progressed now. And only what I understand, I believe. It's like if I bring a new religion to you now, you may not understand it because you haven't been in it for a while. But I don't want to take away all the good work that he's done. I give him a lot of credit. And people thought that the IFP would collapse after his passing. Actually, we grew so much more because it's a legacy now, But you can look at, let's talk about political, historical facts and his position in this country and how he labored here from the Zulu kingdom right up to the government of South Africa. He was an upstanding man, no doubt about that.
Yes, and our politics today, because of time, we'll just have to keep it short. But our politics today is more informed by social media or digitization. We can never shy away from this. And the most recent one, we don't want to go back to those 1949 and stuff, but the most recent ones was recent, around the 2021 July unrest, when he made a very bold statement to say he supported an Indian community that was basically violating in daylight, violating the rights of innocent people.
I think that was misinterpreted by the EFF at the time because of the support the IFP was gaining in the Indian communities. If I can recollect correctly, because I was with him at the Mahatma Gandhi grounds there in Phoenix, his words were actually that he's proud of the Indian for standing up for themselves. He never said he was proud that they were killing someone else. I think that was very much misinterpreted.
But even then, your definitions to this still, I don't think it will sit well with the rest of the public or communities, because if you are saying he was proud, if you are claiming that he said he was proud of Indians standing for themselves, they weren't under attack.
They were. Well, your understanding is I was in Chatsworth, we were under attack.
I was there too.
I was under attack too. But I'm saying I was under attack.
I've never known. Perhaps you were under attack for some crime event or incident that was taking place then, which the SAPS could have dealt with. But he made it seem, or you are actually even making it seem as if someone was out there attacking Indians and Indians had to retaliate.
That's exactly.
That is what...
That's exactly what transpired. You see, but I think he was also making reference to the Indian mentality of passive resistance from Mahatma Gandhi. I think people always take Indians for being passive and not standing up for themselves. So he was making reference to the fact that they stood up. He never supported crime and he never supported killing. He supported the fact that a human being, which he had to label as an Indian, that could stand up to protect himself, because that's what we needed. I know when I was at a mall in Morton or let's say in Westcliff, we were being attacked by mobs. You don't even know of those things, but I'm saying it was an attack on me. If I'm being attacked as a man, I have to stand up for myself or my family or protect my home. So we are not violent by nature, but obviously as a man, you have to protect yourself, you have to protect your family and what you own.
So you don't believe in what's called Phoenix Massacre?
For the people who committed crime, over and above defending himself, I think they have been punished. I think they have been arrested, and I think the law must prevail. So I'm not against the law. I'm a supporter of the law. So if I am found that, I committed a crime against another human being, I must be dealt with. I believe in the law.
But you don't believe that there's ever been an occurrence or an event where people were massacred in Phoenix?
I think massacre is a strong word. I've never believed in the word massacre. If you look at some of our history in this country, we can find days where there was real massacre. I don't think that the word massacre, I don't think it should have been used, but it's my opinion, personal opinion. I'm not saying that people weren't murdered or they weren't attacked or they weren't killed. That's not what I'm saying. Because Me, I've never been racist. I serve the IFP. I've never been racist. But I still don't believe the word massacre is an appropriate word. I don't believe that.
No, because
how many people died in Phoenix?
Well, by reports, we often hear it's plus minus 300. And when we discuss such, because there are platforms where these are often discussed, you know, we often find out that these were innocent people. It is not people that basically attacked or that were basically armed, which makes us, or perhaps even the public, to be, you know, a little bit uncertain about the occurrence of such events. But because of time, sir, I'll give you to comment on that if you want to.
Yeah, no, this is my firm stand on law. If I am found guilty of committing a crime against another human being, I must be dealt with the full might of the law. And I will not justify it for anyone else because they committed crime, whether they can make up a story or not. And I do believe that some people were innocent, like in Chatsworth and in other areas, that there were innocent people that were killed and injured in the process. We weren't at war. So normally, you know, you get casualties of war. And
we were not at war.
We were not at war.
So nobody needed to defend himself.
No, but I'm saying if there was an attack, there will be defense. But if I came at you and I just attacked you or killed you, then I must be dealt with by the law, you know?
No, definitely. Pastor, in 2 minutes, because we are definitely out of time, you can just tell the viewers on what we might see as upcoming programs or developments from the IFP.
Okay, so if you don't know that this year is the 50th anniversary of the IFP. We're having a massive celebration at Lundi on Sunday. On Friday night, we had a huge Thanksgiving. On Saturday, we had Olive Conference Center. So this entire year, we'll be having celebrations. It's our 50th anniversary, taking into consideration the Prince and his legacy and the party's development over this 50 years and their achievements and where they're at right now. And I think that, you know, the IFP has stood strong. We've had some downtime, but we're up and running and we've never looked back. I think when people look at us, our slogan is trust us. And if you look at even in the Indian communities where we're absolute minority as the IFP, we do excellent work that political leaders who are there can't do the amount of work that we do. I think you've seen it. You see the Rising Sun or Tabloid in Chatsworth, you'll see me almost every other week. If you look at Phoenix, you'll see Councillor Anyapun every other week. You look at Councillor Naidu down at Ward 99, you'll see she's a ward councillor. Look at the work she's doing. So we're working tirelessly. Our eThekwini district, the entire... Let's look at our premier and the amazing work he's doing, right from the police to right down to the spaza shops. He's an active man. And I would love for him to come to the show. I will try to get him to engage with you. And yeah, I think the IFP is on an upward trajectory and people should stand up and take a look at that.
There's MK. But okay, thanks very much, Councillor, for such. And we trust you. And we trust that we are invited as the media house to such celebrations.
Sure.
Yeah, but the last time you let me down, asked you for
said you
access.
were already there.
All right. 30 seconds. Just tell the viewers or ask the viewers to like, follow, and share, and even subscribe in your own creative way.
Which your show, Politics?
Yes, it's Politics Plus with Nkosi Zulu. It's on YouTube. You can just ask them to.
Okay, so let's do this like we're doing it for TV, right?
Yeah, definitely. There's your camera there.
So I go by the name of PSG. I'm Pastor Selvan Govender. And I would want every one of you who watches this to like and to subscribe to Politics Plus with Nkosi Zulu. And this is such a brilliant show. It's so informative. I've been following them. We've been here for a while. We've been conversing. And even the presenter here is an activist by nature. We've met at, CPF meetings where we try to put things right in our area. But yeah, this is a beautiful show. It talks about a lot. It brings a lot of information. I was truly blessed to be here today. Although I had a tough day coming from finance meeting now, by the way. But yeah, for all of the viewers, please support this channel.
May I please have one ring? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We have come to an end of the show. Thanks very much, sir.